This here car that I'm sitting on is a 1981 Mazda 626 Coupe. As you can see, the L plate which is on it.
When are you going to go for your licence?
Hopefully later this year.
Autistic people often have, it's often described as an obsession, which I think is a bit cruel. It's just something that they really, really, really like.
And my childhood dream was to work at Warrnambool bus lines, i.e. becoming a bus driver.
What do you like about buses?
For a fact, it's a heavy vehicle, and I'd like to have a go at driving a heavy vehicle.
Now, the bus stop is just outside the door here. Now, at the top of the street, when the bus is about that big, James has stood with his sister and said, there's the bus, be one of the new buses. And she's still at the stage where she's thinking, is that a bus? And then he says, oh, I wonder which one it is, the 17 or the 32. And it pulls into the first stop and he goes, oh, 32. The indicators on the 17 flash a bit slower than that.
So this is my flat where I live. I've lived here for 3.5 years. There's 12 people that live in this block, I think. I know most of them. I sort of hang around with most of them and they're all pretty friendly. It's pretty good. The washing machine doesn't break down too often. Once people used to smoke bongs in there, but they stopped doing that, thank God. That wasn't good. Good place to have a cup of tea or alternatively a beer. Sometimes people sit out here and have a good old drink and a chat. That's really it, apart from talking about my neighbours, which I won't do.
I don't think she had a lot of friends at school. She was very badly treated at school and we weren't aware of that.
I had a lot of problems actually making friends when I was little. And I would have friends, but I'd always alienate them because I'd always do the wrong thing.
If you don't have a concept of what friendship is, you're stumped. How do you make friends? I remember a teacher saying to me, Wendy, you need to say, hello, my name's Wendy, what's yours? And I said to the teacher, why would I do that? I know my name's Wendy. And it was very difficult for me to kind of comprehend the small talk that goes on between kids.
To be there for each other in good times and in bad.
At school, he has few, if any, friends his own age. And that's because conversations at that age level will rely on gossip and what she said to him and he said to her. And that's not a conversation, really, for James. An interesting conversation is an exchange of factual information. How old are you? How many children do you have? Where do you come from? Where did your family originally come from? What job do you do? What car do you have? All this is much more interesting than what do you think he meant when he said that to her.
Do you want to have friends your own age?
I wouldn't mind. I actually wouldn't mind that, but it would be nice. It would be nice if I could try and get friends my age, or possibly even get a girlfriend.
When I was 15, I discovered the socialists. Now, the socialists were marvellous. They had a set of rules, and if you agree with the socialists, they're all your instant friend. If you say, oh, this is what we think about the Russian Revolution, and you get it right, then they all go, oh, wow, listen to Jeanette, she's wonderful. And seriously, I went from having no friends to having about 100 friends. And of course, it didn't work being a socialist in the school environment. So I'd come along with me big stack of socialist workers and go along and say, copy a socialist worker, and everyone go, oh, the weird kids are communists now.
I grew up in the country at a place called Tangambalanga, near Mount Maramarangwong, Mount Makai, Talangata and all the other big long names like that, like Muggigonga. In primary school I was not fitting in with all the other students. I was a funny little geek on the side. You know, I didn't play football. I was more interested in the library and parts of science and music. And when I was a tiny little tacker, the local football, I was playing, you know, the fourths, which are like the young teenagers, and the football went up and over my head that way, and up over my head that way, and I was studying the grass and the sheep dung, you know, all the different part of angles on the ground of how I could actually draw the way that this bit of sheep dung had actually gone there next to all the bits of grass, and the ball went up and over my head and they ran up that way and then they ran back that way. I had absolutely no interest in the football at all. And that was basically, you stood out, you had no interest in the norm or the culture of other people. So I've been playing music since I was about 4 and a bit years old, and I've started performing music, such as everything from weddings to church to gigs, since I was about 7 or 8 years old.